last time. All right, I see Peggy. Good. So before we go into the review, as you guys can see in the shared screen, and let me pull that back up again. Well, actually, we can keep it here. We have the Director of the Academic Support Services here today. Peggy is going to give us a little bit more information about resources available to students in order to get the help needed to be successful in the course. So I did set it up for you, Peggy, so that you can share your screen. So I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for the opportunity. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hi.
Hello. Doing okay today?
I'm good.
Good. Excellent. So I am going to share my PowerPoint. Oh, there we go. Alrighty, so as Professor Cole mentioned, my name is Peggy Rademacher. I'm the Director of Academic Support for Malcolm X College. I basically direct the tutoring center at the college. We are generally located in a physical sense at the college on the second floor above and behind the library, but we are actively supporting students this summer remotely using Zoom. And so I'm here to provide you the information about how to take advantage of our services and a little bit overall about the department as well. So that's my contact information. When I'm done here, I will be happy to share the slide deck with Professor Cole, and I'll put some key pieces of information in the chat box as well for everybody when I'm all done. Okay, but I won't take the time to do that in the middle of my presentation. It'll only take about 10 minutes. So one of the things that I want to make sure everybody understands about tutoring is that we know it works. We know that students who come to our department and take advantage of our tutoring services, they do better in school and they stay in school by about 10 to 15%, which from an academic perspective is really, really a high differential between those who come to tutoring and those who do not. So we're really a whole team of people, professionals who are here to support you. It's all free. It's all part of your tuition. It is a great way to get a higher GPA. It's a great way to stay on track and keep yourself on pace to forecast exactly what you need to get done and have the eyes of a professional who can take a look at, maybe in this case, your paper, and give you some feedback before it turns it into something that your professor is going to grade. It helps you meet deadlines. It helps you become a more critical thinker. It gives you the opportunity to bounce ideas off in a one-on-one setting, very different from a classroom setting. So this just word cloud kind of gives you a sense of all the different things that we know that tutoring can do to help you succeed while you're here. So I need to fix some of these navigation things. So overall, my department kind of offers services in a few different buckets. Most of what we do is one-on-one tutoring. I have about 45 people, most of which have master's degrees, many of which have PhDs. Some of them are actually professors at the college as well. And they tutor and teach both at the same time. We also have a number of tutors who are embedded in the classroom, who are going to be in the classroom with you. This is one of those courses. I've got 2 different tutors that I'm going to be assigning to sit alongside with your professor and help you along the way. So look forward to those introductions probably later on this week. In the meantime, in addition to that embedded experience, you also have the opportunity to take advantage of one-on-one tutoring with any of the tutors that we have in the department. We have about 10 tutors that are qualified to help in English 096. So while the embedded tutors that you're going to meet are a really great resource, they're not your only resource. You also have additional people as well. So over to the left, you can just take a look and see all the different subject areas that we offer tutoring in. If you're enrolled in more than one course, if you're enrolled in more than English this semester, this summer, we can certainly assist you with all these other areas as well. So you should take advantage of that. Over to the right, these are some of the other buckets of things that we can help with that are not necessarily maybe course specific. We offer a lot of assistance for our adult education department. We can help with those of you who might be considering getting into the nursing program. One of the things you need to take is called the TEAS test. That's a placement test for the nursing program. We do offer support and assistance in those areas as well. College success and study skills. If you're an English language learner, we have a whole ESL contingent of tutors that can help with ESL. We can help you with job applications and scholarship applications, resumes, personal statements, and cover letters. And we do have a computer tutor that can help you with general computer skills as well. At the bottom, what you're looking at is this semester, the health science tutors that I have in my department. I often have a contingent of students. These are students that are generally the second-year students in their programs, and they've been recommended by faculty as a result of their GPA to serve in a tutoring capacity for the other students that are in that class. So every semester this list changes, but I often have tutors in dental hygiene, pharmacy tech, physical therapy, personal training, health IT, radiography, respiratory care, and mortuary science. That list does change, but that's the summer list. If you're a student who's interested in getting into one of those programs, it's always a great opportunity to become a tutor as well, which is a great way to build your resume and do better in school at the same time. So we are offering all these services this summer. We're generally using Zoom. You have a couple different options. Okay, you actually have a third option because you have an embedded tutor in your class. I'll come back to that. But for general one-on-one assistance, you have a couple different options. The first one is to go to Grades First directly, and I have a screen, my next slide shows you where you're going to go for that. You're going to go to Grades First, and you're going to schedule an appointment in advance with a tutor, okay? You're going to follow a series of links, and it's going to provide you with the names of people that are available at various times, okay? The times that are available in this upper level case are really broad. They're different across the board. They're all available at all different times of day, into the evening and on Saturdays as well. So the tutors in this case, it's based on their schedule. It's unlike the second option, which is the walk-in option, which is if they're not busy above, if they're not really already with a student, then a tutor will be available in the second option, the walk-in option, whereby you could come to this room, which is a generic Zoom room, which again, I'll place the link in the chat. It'll take you to a room that is staffed right now by my front desk staff. And assuming there's a tutor available, you would be placed in a breakout room in Zoom to work with that student. To work with that tutor. We generally do have English tutors available in that room most of the time. Although the preferred option really is the one above, whereby you can schedule an appointment that works with your schedule and your time, and you can be sure that that tutor will be available to you. At that bottom level, we may or may not have a reading or a writing tutor available at any given time. More than likely we will. That's one area where we do have a lot of tutors, so I think it's likely we will have somebody, but I always want to put the disclaimer in there just in case, okay? This screen allows you to follow the steps. You're going to go to Grades First by going to mycc.edu. You're going to go to Grades First and click on the Grades First link. You're going to go over here and you're going to click on Get Tutoring. Then you're going to follow the prompts. Here with step 5, you're going to follow the prompts. You're going to select My Courses. In this case, you have a couple different options. My Courses is going to allow you the opportunity to select somebody who specifically tutors in English 096. Unlike that resume writing and skill building, all of that is kind of in the other services area. You're going to follow the link for My Courses for this course. And once you process your appointment and you click on Confirm, you're going to get a notification from within the system to your email or your text. You get the choice of either or both directly from the tutor that's going to tell you where to go for that tutoring appointment. It's going to be a unique Zoom room meeting, and it's going to have a password, and you're going to meet with that tutor there. Okay, so that's the first option. The other option, again, is to come into the generic walk-in room. I'm just going to go back here for a quick second to go back to that departmental walk-in room and see if there's somebody available. In that case, there may or may not be. More than likely there will be, but just in case, that other option, option 1, really is the preferred option. I do have some contact information here at the end. I will take a moment here and pause and see if there are any questions. And if there aren't, I will let Professor Cole take over, and I'll just take a minute here and place some of these links in the chat room. Are there any questions?
Nope, no question.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I really do hope you'll take advantage of tutoring this summer. We are available and here to assist you. And I'm thankful that you will have a couple of tutors here in your class that you'll get to know personally as well. So look forward to those introductions later on this week. Okay?
Sounds awesome, Peggy. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Professor Cole, and good luck, everyone. I really hope to that you'll take advantage of our services so we can help you succeed this summer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, I'm just going to piggyback on that and reiterate. It's almost, I won't say it's absolutely necessary, especially in the summer setting where we're taking an accelerated course and we are placing that within a 7-week model. So we're already getting accelerated information, and now we're kind of compacting that in the 7 weeks. So to help you kind of, stay on pace, keep up with the pace, to help you stay on track of assignments and deadlines, the Academic Support Center is a partner in terms of helping you to be successful. So we'll get a little bit more information this week about an embedded tutor. So we'll have 2 tutors assigned to the course who will help, who will know the assignments, they will know the expectations. So you guys will kind of get that tailored or customized help. In addition to the information that Peggy will be passing on to you guys, I do also want to show you how you guys can get this information on our Brightspace page. So just, there are several ways. Sorry, you guys. So there are several ways where you guys can access that information. So Peggy just mentioned grades first. We're going to talk a little bit more about our Brightspace course page, but there are links within Brightspace as well that can put you in touch with those student services. So we'll go through that. Just to again reiterate the what I will call the benefits of seeking out that help from the academic support, especially when sometimes I won't even say when it's needed. If you know already, as students, we already know our skill set. We know where we may struggle in certain areas. Instead of waiting until, it becomes a problem with our first paper assignments, try to get that extra set of eyes. Another thing that Peggy mentioned, it helps with a higher GPA. Any of my students who plan on transferring on to another college, that's important. It gives you that extra set of eyes and feedback, as well as that one-on-one experience. So I cannot say enough about the help that is available. This is a resource. It's included with your tuition. So really make sure you guys are taking advantage of that. All right, let me go ahead and share the screen just one more time to remind you guys of what it is we are discussing or covering today. So I'm kind of taking us back to the review of day 1. So as you guys were coming in, you encountered a poll, and you saw that the poll asked specific questions. We'll talk about the results or finding of that poll in just a moment, but where it asked, have you completed the readings in the module? How are we doing with the readings in the module? How is that coming along? Look, should I unmute you all?
Are you talking about for the misspelling of the word of, that one?
The module. Let me pull up the module for you. Just one second. Give me one minute.
Yeah, because I was confused as to what all we needed to do in the module. I just seen the syllabus and then the syllabus quiz and then the diagnostic. I don't know what we need to do.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's like.
All right, so anytime, the way that I'm setting it up or organizing the information is through modules. So on Brightspace, and this is why I've kind of been beating you guys over the head with making sure you get that Brightspace app, really making sure that you access Brightspace, spend the weekend getting comfortable in navigating the information. The importance of each module, the module for each week, is that it set aside reading, in some cases activities that will help you to kind of access the information. Whatever we are covering that week, the readings in the module will support that. So let me show you guys really quickly the modules. So I'm clicking content. You guys know that's where that will be. So going back to week 1, under week 1 module, I believe that there were 6 readings, and even though I may assign a reading, sometimes an assignment may not be attached to that reading, but the reading is still required. Perhaps it's required to help with discussion. Perhaps it's required to help with a particular concept that we may discuss. So classes began on Wednesday of last week. We had our 2-hour class meeting, and the weekend was designed for you guys to read the information in Module 1. So we pointed out that the course syllabus, even though we went over it in class, we didn't really go through all 8 pages. So homework was you guys to read the syllabus. I did attach an assignment to the syllabus where I came in and entered the syllabus quiz, okay? So that was something, again, to promote the knowledge or information you get from reading the syllabus. The reading and writing diagnostic. This particular reading is the actual article by Jason Oda and the assignment sheet attached. So the importance of the diagnostic is it gives me information as to what skills you guys have coming into the class. So before I can really map out what concepts we need to cover, what do the students need to learn in order to be college level or college ready, the diagnostic assessment helps me to see where we are, to gauge what does the student already understand and where may I need to work to perhaps close gaps in that understanding. So this is really an important assignment. I read earlier the list of students who have submitted it so far, but if you have not submitted the reading and writing diagnostic, it is mandatory in that not only does it help me know how to teach you, it also helps you guys for a final paper assignment that we have towards the end of the semester. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but the reading and writing diagnostic required exercise. So here you found the reading plus the assignment sheet. The annotating text bookmark, this may have gotten confusing. This is reading strategies, especially as we will be modeling them in the course. So this class, again, reading and composition, my goal is to give you a new approach to reading, a new way of gathering meaning and comprehension from a text. So this is what this handout is designed to not necessarily teach, but to give you more information on this. We'll talk more about this today. The journal and vocab log handout, it kind of gives an introduction into the rationale. Why do we use journals? So it gives a little bit more information about the importance of journal writing in becoming a stronger reader and writer. And then again, that syllabus quiz. So the way the modules are set up, each week they will be full of reading that supports class discussion or assignments. It will be up to you guys through the week to complete that reading. A lot of times the reading will have assignments attached to it. So this is why the reading is so important in the modules. Most of the assignments connect back to or are directly linked to this reading, okay? So I've laid out module 2, and I'm gonna talk about this week, but I laid this out yesterday. So for the week, our reading, assignments, and concepts introduced in the class will be based on this reading, okay? So I'm gonna talk in a moment about the icebreaker and how these readings relate to, what we'll cover in some cases today. A couple of them we're covering today, but really making sure that you guys use the week to go through each reading included in the modules, okay? So that is the rationale behind the weekly modules. Uh-oh, my puppy. All right, you guys can see that Peggy left information in chat. I will copy and paste this and put this on our Zoom, our Brightspace page. I didn't anticipate that my dog would be tripping I think the kids are walking around outside. So let me stop share for just a second and attempt to put him in the room. Look, hopefully. Yeah, give me just 1 second, you guys. Let me put him in the room.
No problem.
Sorry, you guys. Okay, so now that we've kind of went over that quick or brief rationale of the modules, did that make any sense for anybody who struggled with what to do with the modules? Did that clear it up at all?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, good. So weekly modules are readings designed for that week. So with this week, I would normally give you guys the reading assignment, the exercise, and then under week 2 modules where you will go to find that information. So it's trying really to keep it all organized. Let me go back. All right, so we see that here. All right, something else that I wanted to point out about the textbook. We talked about that day 1. I think a couple of you had already ordered the text from the online link when you guys signed up for the class. I have talked to my department chair as well as our publisher to see if I can get a link or a way for students to purchase the book void of the bookstore. So I'm still waiting to hear back from my publisher on that, but I believe that there were only a couple of you who wanted the actual hard text. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm still working on that. I think it was Julie, I know Shania, I think Jamisha too. But for those of you who are okay with the electronic version, have you guys had a chance yet to look at the electronic version of the text?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, I want to show you guys where it is if you have not. You guys see here under content, you see to the left of your screen, we have this table of contents. Here under remote learning orientation handout, this is the handout we talked about in class on Monday. Let me click and just show you this so you guys will have that familiarity. All right, let me do a new show. All right, let's sorry, you guys. Let me take a quick look at downloading this before I share it with you guys. Do you remember the handout we talked about on Monday where it lays out the habits of a online learner in order to be successful? One was be curious. They talked about carving out time. That particular handout is found under our remote learning. So that is what you guys see here. It doesn't show up very nice in the window, but you guys remember all of this.
Is that a part of the PDF?
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
Is that a part of the PDF?
Well, this is actually, I think it's a Word document that is, but no, this isn't part of the textbook PDF. This is something I think a student had asked about this on Monday as well. So again, yeah, like I see how that was confusing. I get you. Let me go back to table of contents. So for the textbook, those of you who don't have the hard version and don't necessarily need to have it in order to get the work done, here is the online version of the text. And this is a PDF version, okay? So you guys kind of see that there. Sometimes I will still add an additional copy of the reading under the weekly modules. So you guys will have more than one place to go to find that information. Let me show you guys just a little bit here. You see here, misspelling of the word of. You see that a lot of the reading, I don't know if you guys noticed, if you looked at the syllabus, Learning to Read by Malcolm X, Mother Tongue, a lot of these readings on the syllabus can be found in this text, okay? So you guys do have access to that. Another thing that I wanted to make sure you guys are familiar with on our Brightspace page is where we just talked about student services, academic support. You guys see where my mouse is, and let me try to. Do we see here on where I'm kind of circling my mouse, student support?
Yes.
Yes.
If you guys click on student support, what you'll find is it will give you the information to grade first to kind of get on and sign up for tutoring. You have an easy link here. Wellness center, disability access, all of that information, you guys have access to it here as well. All right, let me go back out for just a second. Another thing that I wanted to point out was student learning outcomes on the syllabus. Show you guys this really quickly. Because even though we talked about a few things on Wednesday, kind of glazed over. Week 1 is our syllabus, that's the first document. I kind of glazed over some information pertaining to the contact information for the course. So even though we will use the same Zoom classroom every time, if ever you feel like, Ms. Cole, I don't have a link, you know, I'm not sure of how the best way to get in contact with you, if I have a question, all of my contact information is here on the course syllabus.
Only 14 people there. The other people no can clap.
What I would do if I were you is perhaps clicking on them and maybe bookmarking them on your laptops or on your phones for easy access. Something else I wanted to point out, office hours. So even though we meet 2 hours, in some cases 2.5 hours, I still am available outside of our Zoom class meeting. So if you're working on assignments, if you, just need, advice or even a second set of eyes on your assignments, I'm also available during my office hours to support students. So I want you guys to make note of my office hours. So the availability is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 to 11:30, so right before class. If you struggle with an assignment the night before, you guys can reach out to me there. And I am available for Zoom office meetings, and you guys see my office, look, my office number here, okay? So all this information is here, really important. All right, I think that's all I kind of really wanted to point to in terms of reviewing. I also want to kind of remind you guys that whether you read the information in the modules or not, so even if I put it there, I posted there, but you perhaps didn't get a chance to get to all of the readings, I want you to know you're still held responsible for that information. So anything that is posted with the expectation for students to read, whether you complete the reading or not, I'm still moving forward as though a student did read it, as though you did get that information. So if it's posted, I am assuming that you have taken responsibility for that reading or that information. So we'll talk a little bit more about the Brightspace course page. If you haven't downloaded that app yet, make sure you guys do so. But let me stop share for just
You're talking about the Brightspace app?
Yeah, that Brightspace app.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see what's going on with the polling. Let me kind of. Are you guys able to see the results?
Yes.
Okay, if you came in a tad bit late, there was a poll that met students when they entered class that asked just a few questions. One question is, what does ARC stand for? 86% of you guys got that correct. It's aligned reading and composition. So you know that this course combines reading and writing skills. Did you complete all the reading? 50% say yes. And I do know now in talking to you guys that there perhaps was some confusion around how to move forward with the module. So this is okay. Just know that for each week, the module will represent the readings you need to complete for that week. Okay, and have you downloaded the app? 86% of you, yes. So that's an overwhelming majority have done so. Good. When I sent out the reminder on Brightspace, for those of you who have the app, did you get that notification? Did it notify you in real time of
Yes,
any?
it did. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
All right, good. So that is the best way to keep up with the pace of the class and stay on top of any announcements. I did have an idea of assignments for the course before the course got started, but you guys know, with Memorial Day and kind of the civil unrest that precipitated right before class started, I've made some adjustments to assignments so that we can kind of consider and bring, that outside world into the class. So let me show you quickly on the syllabus where we talk about the assignments. You guys are able to see these topical assignments, the course calendar and readings. Please note that this information here is subject to change. So what you really want to follow are those weekly modules. That's where I'm kind of taking this information and, presenting it to students. So definitely pay attention to the syllabus, yes, but when it comes to course calendar, the assignments and readings, this information is subject to change, okay? All right, so we talked about the polling results. Today's class is kind of going into beliefs and assumptions. You guys see that our reading on Jason Oda, he explores this theme, right? Beliefs, assumptions. So I do want to talk to you guys about that today. Okay, so let's talk about a few things, especially in terms of the student survey. The syllabus quiz, right? I'm sorry, you guys, for jumping around. I am attempting to stay on track, and my dog is tripping, and so I'm getting a little bit thrown off. But when it comes to the sentiment on reading, I want to talk about beliefs and assumptions in terms of reading. I noticed a few things as I've kind of been, moving in and out of social media, kind of paying attention to what's going on online. And I've noticed that anytime a person makes a post that may be what I call longer, right? Let's say maybe a paragraph or two. Most of the comments will say, I'm not reading that, right? Oh, you wrote too much. So immediately they lose a number of their audience. And I want to kind of ask you guys, is that representative of the attitude towards reading? Anytime we are approached or presented with having to read information, are we normally turned off?
I think they will be normally turned off just because of the length of the paragraphs and the length of the reading. They feel like they're not going to get straight to they feel like they're not going to read straight to the point. They got so much background to read on. So they're not going to want to read all that without getting straight to the point. They want to know straight to the point.
Okay, I get that. I like that. So, you know what? And that is more, I can see that being reflective in, the generation, as we're kind of moving. It's kind of like the Twitter lifestyle, right? Say what you need to say in this many characters or less, right? So that's the attitude you're referring to, Jewel?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. What else do you guys think?
Well,
sorry about that. The attention span of today's society is, 9 seconds or less.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah, we've been taught as instructors when we go to, best practices, seminars, or things like that. They tell us we have 5 seconds to capture our audience or we will lose them. So they do bring in, attention span, distractions that may come up. So, okay, I see that. Attention span distracted. What were you going to say, Julie? I think I saw your box light up.
yeah, I just wanted to say most of the things they write on the social media is they start with the things that don't make sense before saying the ones that make sense. So when you start reading, it seems like you're reading crap and you don't have the patience to want to go down to actually read the thing that makes meaning at the bottom.
I see that. Go ahead, Shania.
I agree with everybody else, but I feel like some people have different beliefs. Basically, like they will go straight into the point, and they will like also read like the evidence and everything else that's on to the writing. So I feel like some people take their time out to go deep into it, but most people don't. That's how I feel.
Okay, okay. I like that. I actually like all of the perspective. Julie, you pretty much were agreeing with Jewel in that sometimes it is kind of, you know, what I call a distraction, maybe someone getting off track. I see here Alejandro says you prefer short and straight to the point. Jamisha has added that sometimes the writings, either they aren't interesting, there may be a lot of errors involved. So I think, again, that piggybacks on Julie and Jewel, as well as is not so much the length of it, it's the quality of it, right? It's just not quality information. But Shania, I like the perspective you brought in that sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. If someone's seeking to inform or give evidence or background or information on it. Okay, so we decipher what information we'll kind of dive into based on how we value it. I see that. I can see that point there. The survey that we're going to talk about in a second, it kind of really takes a look at our beliefs and our assumptions and how we bring that to any writing that we are, you know, encountering. So I see where you just added, Brandon, that you like to get to know what you're reading. Ooh, I like that you brought that up because.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Did you want to expound on that?
No, I just it was different from everyone else. It was just that they like short and straight to the point. I like to really get into the story and try to involve and try to see what everything is and try to get the meaning of it.
Right, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, I see that. So it goes back to what do we value? So kind of what I'm picking up, Shania and Brandon, is if you value that issue or if you value that particular topic, you're interested to know more information about it. So perhaps reading those longer posts, whether it is social media or longer text articles, as long as it's a topic that you may find interesting, that you are interested in, you don't mind the link so much, right? In some cases, though, we do know it being wordy can be used to distract, to get to switch points. So all valid points. I get all of them. Let's try to explore this a tad bit further before we get into our discussion about the diagnostic reading. So I want to share a link with you guys in your chat. And this is a link to a Google Forms survey. So from the chat box, you guys should be able to click on it and it will open up in another window for you guys to quickly, and I mean it's either yes or no answers to kind of let me know your attitude or belief system, you know, when it comes to reading and writing. So give me 1 second. Let me share this link with you guys in the chat. Now, even though I'm putting it in the chat, it won't automatically pop up on your screen. You guys will still have to click on chat. Oh, geez, this looks long, like a long link, but that's okay. It's a hyperlink, so you guys can still click. I'm sorry, say it again, Jamisha.
I was saying it popped up on my screen. Okay. I'm sorry.
Oh, it did. Okay.
Mine too.
Okay. All right. So, have we accessed it yet? You know, you guys let me know. Kind of know. Are you having any trouble getting in, or
yes,
are we in?
I'm on here.
Okay. All of your responses are coming right back to me, so I'm able to see in real time, you know, kind of collectively where we fall in terms of our belief system. So let's take a few minutes, you guys. I don't anticipate it should take more than 10 minutes. You guys can feel free to mute yourselves or, you know, chat if you have any questions.
Hey, what do you mean by the print word is basically true?
Anything you read, if you read it in a book, if you read it in a newspaper or article, do you believe that?
Oh, okay, okay,
Mhm.
okay.
That's a good question.
I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I said, when you guys are done, if you'll just add in chat done, and that way that'll kind of help me, not just be sitting here waiting and you guys are all finished. So when you're
Okay.
done, okay, I see. Thank you. All right, we have about 10 responses in right now. We'll take about another 5 minutes or so on this. I'll say 5 to 7 minutes, then we'll discuss. All right, it's looking like we have all completed it. Oh no, I'm sorry. Okay, we got one more. That's okay. And no rushing. I'm not rushing you at all. I'm just making sure. All right. Awesome. I think I have us all now. All right. So you guys saw from that survey, it's simply a questionnaire that allows me to explore what are the attitudes we have with writing. If I'm going to teach you guys how, new strategies or new ways of approaching reading, I kind of need to know what are our thoughts or ideas on it right now. So even in the English 101 class, normally when students are given a reading assignment, I see body language. Like I see what they do when they are introduced to text. So sometimes they will take a particular text and they'll like look at about how long it is. I used to have some students who would look at small text or small print and they would find that daunting or overwhelming. So whether you know it or not, we do have assumptions or beliefs ingrained in us about reading that in some way or another it can sabotage our reading efforts. So I want to explore this a tad bit further. So let me pull up the screen that will show the results of the survey you guys just completed. All right. So in real time, I'm able to see how you guys responded without, still hanging on to you guys' privacy. So with the first question asking, reading and writing are both solitary activities. So I'm kind of gauging, what do you guys think about that? So where it says reading and writing are both solitary activities, it means it's something that you do alone, something that you do independently, without, let's say, help or assistance from a group. Okay, that's how I'll define a solitary activity. And I see that an overwhelming majority, 85% of you guys agree that reading is a solitary activity. Now, that isn't to take away from those who perhaps say that it is not. I have seen book clubs, reading groups where people are even though they may be reading solid, independently, they come together to write about it or talk about it. So this first question really is a preference question. What is your preference? Do you prefer to read and write independently, or is it something that you can do in a group setting? So you guys, we share the same sentiment. I'm really personal, almost protective of my reading and writing space. I try to kind of deal with the ideas in front of me and block out, outside ideas or additional ideas, right? For most of you, you get your reading and writing done independently or in a solitary activity. What about reading as a passive activity? And when we think about the word passive, it means you don't necessarily have to be engaged. It means that you perhaps can read and do something else at the same time. Passive means it doesn't require your full attention. So for those of you who believe that reading is a passive activity, we have about 62% who say that, yes, you believe it's a passive activity, and probably about 31% who says it is not a passive activity. Now, ordinarily, I would let, your opinion or your belief, be your own. But when in a particular class, such as English 96, art class, it's important to know that reading is not a passive activity. It's not an activity.
I misinterpret that question. So now that you further explained, it really isn't a passive activity, because if you're doing something else while you're trying to read, you're gonna get thrown off. So I really misinterpret that question.
I definitely agree with that. And I say that because I have tried. Okay, like I've tried to catch my show and still get my reading or work done. So I'll have my laptop on my lap, and I'm still kind of looking up at my Housewives or whatever show it is that I'm watching, and almost without fail, I'll either have to rewind the show because I've missed something from trying to, complete my work, or I will have to reread a page or paragraph that I missed trying to watch a show. So it's really difficult to read and decipher meaning and comprehend what you're reading if you're not engaged in that activity. So we're going to talk a little bit more about being engaged reader, where you're actively participating in the process. Okay, but I also understand what you're saying too. Perhaps maybe the word passive may have tripped us up. So let me ask this question. When you guys read and you come across, let's say, and I'm just assuming that it may be, you know, a word may trip you up or an understanding, not saying that it was, but what do you normally do in your reading when you encounter a word that you don't know or understand? What do we normally do?
Look it up.
We normally look it up.
If I don't look it up, I'll try to see how they're using it in a different senses, or just try to reread it just to see if I get an understanding from that.
Okay, that's good. That's use of context clues, right? How is it being used in this context, right? That's important too. The reason why one of the required texts for the class is a dictionary and a thesaurus app is because I want us to start developing a habit of, if we run across a word that we aren't familiar with or that we are unsure about, that we immediately start to go look that word up. Even if you can, in some cases, decipher the meaning from the text, it really is important in making sure you have full understanding, and it helps with vocabulary building. If every time I've looked up a word in my reading, I'm learning a new word, I'm adding a new word to my vocabulary. So I used to really promote the handheld, you know, the actual dictionary, but there are awesome electronic dictionary apps, Merriam-Webster, dictionary.com, that not only do they give you the definition, they'll give you the part of speech, give it to you in a sentence, so you can really be sure on its usage. That is a really important part of reading as well. All right, let's look at this next question. Reading a book, article, text should be a conversation between the author and reader. All right, and an overwhelming majority of you guys agree with that. And this is important. Where we just talked about is reading a passive activity. It is not. It should be one that operates as a conversation between the author and reader. So I know as students, because I want you guys to understand that I have been in your shoes. So I know that as a student, sometimes we want to read to complete an assignment, right? We want to kind of read to get through a particular assignment, or to kind of make sure we get credit for an assignment. But as you move to college level reading, the main goal should be reading to understand the information. It's all about, what is this text designed to teach me? What is this particular author trying to tell me? So we shift as we kind of move to this college level reader to, I'm not simply just looking for or hunting out the answers when I'm reading. I'm going a little bit deeper into, determining, looking at this as though this author is speaking to me. What is the author attempting to teach me? What should I be expecting to learn from this information? So reading a book, whether it's an article, a text, anything really, reading in general requires you to be engaged and in tune with the author's message and the meaning of that message. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. A text has only one correct interpretation. This is an interesting question. So let's see. 31% of you agree that a text has only one way of it being interpreted or viewed. You guys, 62% of you say you disagree with that. And one of you are unsure, and that's fine. I can see how there may be some gray areas in this discussion. Again, and I don't know if we're all, I think, we have a variety of different ages, backgrounds, educational experiences in this class. But if you are, let's say, just coming out of high school, or you are returning after being away from school for a while, what you may remember about the model in school is normally the teacher will give you something to read and they will tell you what that reading means. Do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So we've almost been taught to default to whatever the teacher or the facilitator may tell us about a text. I want you guys to prepare yourself to kind of shed that misconception, especially as we move into college level. I want you to take ownership of your interpretation of a text. Our different backgrounds, our different experiences will inform how we interpret a text. So no one way of interpreting a text is possible. Now, that doesn't mean that that author perhaps didn't intend for you to take away a particular meaning. Sometimes there is a particular or correct meaning that that author has in mind when they put that out there. But as you engage with it, as you kind of, look at it as though the author is having a conversation, sometimes their tone can may impact your interpretation. Vocabulary use. There are lots of things that can kind of get in the way of how a text is interpreted. So I will side with those who say that you disagree that there is only one way to interpret a text. I highly disagree with that. You have your experiences, you have your opinions, and they are valid as well. Now, even though we can all come together and discuss that interpretation, a text, depending on your reading of it, your background, your experiences, what you bring to it, interpretations, they vary. They do. And we'll talk about that as we are introduced to our journal writing exercises. So we'll get a little bit more into this idea of interpretation. Reading something once is enough. What do you guys think about that? Let's see. Overwhelming majority. 12 out of the 13, you guys disagree that reading something once is enough. And some say yes. Now, this could be depending on what you're reading, right? But because I'm thinking of college level readiness, preparing you guys for college level reading, I can almost guarantee if there's any learning to be gained from the text, you will need to read it more than once, right? I normally, especially if I'm seeking out particular information, I normally read thoroughly at least twice, and that's at least twice. And sometimes you may not need to read as much if you are employing skills such as annotation. Maybe you're taking notes in the margins. Maybe you have some way of kind of identifying those main or key points. That helps. But if you're not doing that at all, if we have no kind of system set up for us to kind of take inventory of what we're reading, you more than likely will have to read things not only just once, but in some cases more than twice. And I hope that doesn't sound daunting. We'll talk about skills that'll help us to get the most out of our readings, so that we don't have to kind of waste time rereading and rereading. I've noticed this too, as students study, when I, in my literature courses or seminar courses, when students have to read to prepare for a test or read to study, I've noticed how rather than reviewing notes or annotations, which we'll talk about all of that throughout the course of the day, rather than using those tools, they're kind of rereading chapters and going over and rereading things that in some cases can either slow you down or isn't conducive in getting the most out of the information. So we're going to explore this idea of how often should you read? What are strategies for you to get the most when you, out of the information when you do read? All right, readers should read/know every word of a text to understand it.
Right.
All right, I heard someone yell, yes, 69% of you guys agree with that, okay? I see that 8%, so a smaller percentage say no, and they should say unsure instead of unsure. But yeah, with this, readers should read/know every word of a text to understand it. I am going to give a whopping absolutely. Now, and that's not to say if you don't know every word, then you're doomed to not understand a text. It may mean we may just have to work a little harder, but you should have a good understanding of the information that you encounter when you read by reading every word. I won't necessarily say knowing every word, but definitely in reading every word. I want to.
Because I got confused. I kind of got confused with that because everything I read, some things that I don't know, so I have to like look up the things to
Okay.
understand it or.
But even in that process of you not knowing it and then looking it up, you're working to know. You know what I mean? So that process of even doing that, you're seeking to know in order to understand. You'll stop yourself to, find out what does this word mean, and then kind of pick up from that knowledge to kind of continue through with the text. So you are seeking out understanding. Even
Right.
through that small process, that is what you're doing. So I will agree that you have to read. I won't say you have to know every word of a text, but you definitely have to read every word of a text. And if you don't know a word that you're reading, you should make some attempt to look it up so that you're able to understand. Let me give you guys a quick example of what this may look like. I remember in a previous class, I gave students a writing diagnostic. So just what you guys completed week 1 in this course. And the prompt asked, should cell phones be prohibited in the classroom? Okay, so that was the prompt. And the student who wrote a very well organized and structured essay on that topic, you could tell that they did not understand the word prohibit. So prohibit means, should cell phones be banned, right? Should they not be allowed in the classroom? And the student said that cell phones should, yes, cell phones should be prohibited, but then they went on to give all of the points as to why it should not be. Like, does that make sense? So I could tell from their response, they did not understand the word prohibited. And based on that lack of understanding and reading that prompt, it sabotaged that entire assignment. So it really is important, especially in a class where sometimes you're asked to write about what you read. It is important to read to understand the text. When you're asked not just what happened in a particular text, but what do you think about what happened? How do you connect to the information that you've read? For you to really connect to it, for you to really have any critical idea about it, you have to understand it. So it could impact not just the reading, but also how you relate to it and how you can write about that information as well. So really important, and we'll work on strategies to help with that. Number 7, the print word is basically true. So this idea that if it comes bound in a book and, that obviously this information covered, it must be true, right? That whole idea. And we're kind of split on this. I see that 6 of you say you disagree. The print and word, just because it's in print does not mean that it is necessarily true. And we have a split where some of you said you're unsure about that. And I'm glad you're unsure. We'll talk about it. And about 15% who say they agree. I think this particular belief or assumption also comes from our experience or background in education, right? You get a book. If you have disagreed with anything that is in that book, normally the opinion will be defaulted to the text. The opinion will default to the text. But I do want to tell you guys, as you're moving into college level reading, what you encounter in print, whether it's an article, whether it is a chapter in a textbook, just because it is published does not mean that it is true. A lot of, in some cases, what you read, unless it is fact-based, so I'll say things such as, let's say, a biology textbook or, a mathematics textbook, those things where we're dealing with fact, then in those cases, I would say leave it up. I would leave that up to, let's say, perhaps the expert in those fields. But where we are dealing with things like opinion, whether it's an article, a lot of times they are discussing their opinion on a topic. And it doesn't always mean that their opinion is right. I won't say true. I'll use the term right. Right. We all have different perspectives when we talk about certain topics or subjects. If I were to write a particular article about my opinion on if remote learning was successful, for CPS students, right? If I'm going to write an article about that, my opinion that no, it was not successful. Well, that's my opinion. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's true, right? So, fine line we should consider with be skeptical in some cases of information that you encounter. Now, I won't say don't trust everything you read, but I'll say don't assume that this is the end all be all on that topic. You can explore different opinions. You can explore different ideas. If one person wrote it in print and said it, it doesn't necessarily make it law. And, that's really important, especially when I think back about my African American literature class, when we talked about things like stereotypes and how certain ideas about groups of people have been perpetuated through print in text, right? Certain incorrect ideas that have been promoted have been in books, right? A lot of it have. So be curious. You guys remember that that particular concept. Be curious when you read. Question your author. Who is this person? What credibility do they have on this issue? Can I trust what they're saying about this particular topic? You have the independence to have an opinion on that and to question that as readers. And I want you guys to feel empowered to do so. Did you guys have any questions on this before I move on? Number 7, the print word is basically true.
No, I think that's understood.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, reading and writing are closely connected. 100% you guys agree with that. It's been my experience that stronger readers tend to be stronger writers. And it's not anything that I think the person is aware of. It is just that being comfortable in reading information, identifying how it's organized, a strong reader is able to duplicate that in their writing. So reading and writing are closely connected in that when you guys start to read as, okay, this is the author's introduction. All right, here is the author's main point. Here are their body paragraphs that support and develop that point, and here is their conclusion. When you start to read and you identify and notice these things, when I ask you to write about it, you tend to mimic that. So getting comfortable in your reading, being comfortable in assessing format and how the writer is conveying his message, all of that is helpful in helping you when it's time for you now to convey your own message and write your own opinion or ideas on a topic. It definitely helps in cases of you becoming stronger writers. So stronger readers and make stronger writers and vice versa. And you guys agree, I see that. What's this idea with writing as a talent? Now this is a debate that students kind of really dive in my class. Writing is a talent. Only some people are able to be good writers. So this is looking at this idea that either you're good at it or you're not, right? And you guys feel like, yes, you feel, some of you, I'll say 54% agree that writing is a talent. Only some people are able to be good writers, so half of us, and less than half, 31% agree that disagree with that. I'm with the 31% on this. Some of us, I'll say I can understand the 56% where you're coming from, but writing is not so much a talent. Now, some people may have stronger use of language. Some people may have perhaps a more colorful or vivid vocabulary, but I won't say that those are intrinsic skills that either one person has and another person doesn't. I feel like those are skills that can be learned. So where you may feel now that you're not a good writer, I feel like you can be. I feel that there are steps that and strategies in place that if the student puts that practice in and kind of put that commitment into it, oh, you can definitely be a talented writer. No question about it. And even if, depending on what you value in writing, do you feel like vocabulary makes a strong writer? Do you feel like it is a presentation or delivery of content? You know, based on how you characterize, you know, good writing, I think that there are steps, there are things each person can do in order to be a good writer. So I see how the idea may be there that, yeah, some people are just better at it than others. I can see how that idea may seem valid, but if you feel like you don't write strong enough, you don't have strong command of vocabulary, those are things that you can work on, and through practice, you can develop that. So I don't think that writing is a talent. I think that it is like any other skill that once you learn it, you develop it, you can work at it to become better. I do. Now, if we're talking about fiction or things like that, some people may have more vivid imaginations than other, but the skill set itself of writing, I think that we all have it within ourselves to be good writers. Okay. Reading frequently improves your grammar, vocabulary, thinking, and writing. You guys all agree with that. It absolutely does. We just talked about how if you are reading and you come across a word you don't know, looking that up can help you build vocabulary. If you look at reading as though you are coming to gain some knowledge, you are kind of looking at what is this author setting this up to teach me. That helps to promote that critical thinking, seeking out those answers. And lastly, by reading, you're kind of mimicking the organization and structure of writing. All right, good. Oh, this one. I often look forward to picking up a book and reading it. We're split on this somewhat. Some of you guys say, yeah, this is awesome. 62% say yes, and the other 38% says no. I'm no judgment here on how you guys feel about picking up books and reading it. You know, it helps me just to kind of see attitudes in terms of reading, but I really like to see that for the most part, if it is a topic that you guys are interested in, you look forward to picking up a book or learning more about a particular issue. That is important. And that's really important in the particular climate that we're in, that we find ourselves in, socially, politically, etc. I've been telling my son that where we say, you know, where you hear the cry, no justice, no peace, I like to look at it as no justice, KNOW, no peace. So the knowledge that'll be necessary for some of us, you know, to kind of create real change in these areas will come from what we know. So a lot of times there will be reading more about the issue, reading to learn a little bit more about, you know, economic disparities or the current justice system, or to kind of get the data or evidence so that you can engage in conversation or debate about it. So looking forward, this whole attitude that you look forward to learn more or pick up a book, that is what is needed in this particular, you know, time and place in the world today. I often have to read something more than once to understand it. We talked about this a little bit, didn't we already? So you guys are saying sometimes, 75%, always 3. So my people who say always, I'm with my 3%, my 23% here. Sometimes I feel you guys too. If it is directions, I may not have to read it more than once. If it is, you know, it kind of may depend on what it is. Is that what you guys mean when you say sometimes?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of just depends
Yeah.
on. I get that. All right. Most of what you guys will be reading in this class will be articles. I did get rid of the book club component for the summer, in just that it's very difficult to do that with remote learning. But we will be reading things like poetry, to where we're kind of still in that literary element. So you almost always will have to read it more than once to kind of really seek out that understanding. So I do want you guys to prepare yourselves in this class. Set aside the time. You may have to revisit a reading. And that really is important with how our class is structured. So you see how today we started at 12. Well, even though we start at 12, the class is scheduled at 11. So that time is set aside to, even before we meet, if perhaps you need to reread an article for discussion, you kind of have that hour prior to class to kind of get that out of the way. So work on including the process of rereading, to that reading process. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Writing down ideas is a more difficult task than speaking about them. I hear this a lot from students. And I see that 69% of you guys agree with that. A lot of times you have the idea in your mind, you know what you want to say, but making the transition from putting it on paper and now you are bogged down with, am I saying this correctly? Am I spelling this correctly? Am I using this word correctly? That process sometimes gets in the way of creativity.
Yeah.
It sometimes get in the way of, all of the ideas, all of the other ideas that you have about the topic. So we're going to work on strategies to help with how can I take the idea that I have in my mind, because I know what I want to say, but now what is the best way for me to say it, right? So we'll work on strategies throughout the semester to help with this. But this is one of the main concerns I hear from students as we move from reading to writing. All right, did you guys want to add anything on this?
No.
Okay.
No.
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 So my writing usually sounds good to me. Good. So 77% of you guys say yes. That's awesome. First of all, it's showing me an attitude of confidence. So I like that, because what the beginning student or the developing writing student struggles with, they struggle with confidence. A lot of times it isn't that what you have to say is invalid or that it's not important. A lot of times it's just the confidence to kind of promote that idea. So where it asks the question, my writing usually sounds good to me. This is encouraging. You guys normally think your ideas or how you write, you're confident that it normally sounds good. I see a couple where we are unsure or absolutely no. Well, we'll work on strategies. If you feel that your writing normally doesn't sound good to you, we'll work on strategies to help with that. Proofreading strategies, also grammar help, sentence structure help, so that if you do have a problem or an issue like that, we can remedy that. You guys will have skills in your toolbox or in your skill set that can help you with this. But I like this. This is encouraging to see. So all right, I was asking the question, I prefer to read and write in what language? This is important to know, first of all. If you prefer English, that's fine. If not, I want to make available, so I'll use this survey to make available either apps or platforms that can take a particular reading and either audio, have someone read it in that particular language of choice. So you guys will be getting not only the information in the reading, but you eliminate the step of translation. You eliminate the extra work of, okay, this is a particular word that we don't have this particular word in my language. What does it mean, right? And I've seen a lot of students struggle in class where they're reading, but where we would normally just read, they have an additional step of I'm reading and now I have to kind of translate it. Now I have to look up what does this particular word mean. So I want to help you guys with as much of that as possible. So this was a really important question. I'll seek out whatever the preferred language is. I'll seek out sites or vehicles that will allow you to get the information I'm giving you in English, but have it either translated, whether that's textually or through audio, so that you kind of have that added support. All right. So I'll go back through that and read that. Okay, and I just asked you guys for your names so that I can make sure you get your participation points. All right, let me go ahead and stop this share. Now, the reason I wanted to do this survey before we talk about the reading diagnostic is in the reading that you guys, or some of you have completed, some of you have not. Again, this isn't to kind of shame those of you who haven't, but kind of just to talk about how do you read, what was your attitude when kind of given that reading assignment. So let's explore that. What did you guys think about the reading of the Jason Older text? First of all, and when I say what do you think about the reading, did you like it? Was it an easy reading? You know, what are your first initial feelings on the text?
I was
I think it was an
confused
easy
when I
one.
first started reading that text.
Okay, that's Shania. You said you got confused?
Yeah, when I read it the first time, I was confused. Like, why is he so confused about the word of? But as I got deeper into the text, then I started to figure out, like, it got a lot to do with using the word in another person way due to their tradition or beliefs or anything like that.
Okay, good. I get it. Now, did you have to, when you did that, did you have to take it through more than one read?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right, good. We'll talk about that. Somebody else has started to say something. I'm not sure who it was. Was that Jamisha?
It was me, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The first time I read it, I think I didn't get too much of an understanding of it because I was so based on like the word of, but then I overlooked the word indoctrination. Then I looked it up just to get deeper into it, and then that made me be able to write my my paper much better once I understood it better. And then I kind of try to do some research online about it too, just to help me understand it, and then that helped a lot too.
Okay, so you see that with reading, it was more than just the words on the page. You had to look at, you know, the vocabulary. You wanted to do some type of maybe research or background into it as well. So what you're showing is that it's a process, right? It isn't again, of this passive activity. It will require some engagement. So I like that. What else did you guys want to add? What did you think about the text? Was it an easy to read text, difficult, like it, not like it? What are your ideas?
I liked it.
Okay. What'd you like about it, Robert?
Well, it it was just taking his experience of what he saw as a young child, and then questioning not everything, but events that are happening as he sees them, as they come up. That's what I took out of it. I mean,
which I see that too. I mean, it's his experience for us to kind of get a snapshot of his perspective, right? And
but it went back towards when he saw another child use the word of in a different way. So
right. So he remembers the specific event. He remembers an experience or event that happened when he started to kind of question, you know, traditions or certain beliefs or assumptions, right? We're going to talk about it. What else did you guys want to add?
Well, when I started reading the passage, when I saw the spelling, I was like a little bit confused. So I had to put the spelling on my dictionary in my phone and listen to the pronunciation. But the word in itself is not the problem. It's the pronunciation.
Yes.
Because if you look at the other word of, which has double F's, it is pronounced as it is being spelled. But this other one, the pronunciation changes, but to me, it doesn't really make any sense. Because if of are like synonyms, why should you change the pronunciation of the other of?
Right. Now we'll talk about that because, and that's a good question, Julie. I think he was talking about this was first graders, right? Did he say 6-year-old? Like, did he say it was his first grade class? Do you guys remember?
Yeah, it was first grade.
So, here, like I want us to kind of pause there because you bring up interesting points, Julie, in that we have to think about it through a child's eyes, right? So I think now that we kind of have the understanding, you know, it makes complete sense to us now. But where this is a child who's being introduced to language, you know what I mean? And they're trying to make sense of it, the of, that UV, you know, the way that this student chose to spell of, it was the response, the response from the class, the response, that shame that they attached to that student, that Jason Oda is questioning, right? That he had a problem with. So we'll talk about it. Let me pull it up for you guys so that you have it right in front of you. And for those of you who perhaps haven't read it yet, you'll still, we'll kind of play it so that you guys have that information to engage in the conversation. So give me one moment. All right, so I got this here. All right, and even though it is on Brightspace in our week 1 module, what I'm showing or sharing is the online version because it gives me the actual audio. So we get to hear it as well as read it. So it's a relatively short article, but even in the article being short, it still works as what you guys will learn pretty much in how an essay works, right? It has the introduction where they kind of set up the situation. Then we take that situation and the author zeroes in on a larger point. That's normally that main point, right? Or their thesis. Then we kind of see examples of that main point in the supporting paragraphs before getting to a conclusion. So I want you guys to be mindful, not just of what you're reading, but also the organization of it as well. All of that is helpful. So let's just take a few moments to listen to the quick reading by Jason Oda of the text, and then we'll kind of again go a little bit deeper into your ideas and how did you guys yourself read this. Let me ask this question though before we get started. Did you guys, is there anybody who read the text and printed it out? You printed it out?
Yes.
Okay, I hear yes. All right.
No.
All right, if not, that's okay. But whether you printed it out or read it electronically.
No.
I'm sorry, say it again.
No.
No, okay. If not, that's okay. But whether you printed it out or read it electronically, did you guys make any attempts to, let's say, annotate, make notes of, highlight information? You pointed out, Jamisha, that you identified a word, indoctrination, that you looked up, right? That's a process of annotation, right? But did you guys make any attempts?
I also like pointed out like all the statements he made like to use for my evidence.
Okay.
Yeah, I put an outline as well.
Okay. And so there was somewhat of notation, annotating, right? Did any of you guys approach this with, whether you printed it out or did electronically, kind of taking notes or jotting down your notes or ideas on the reading? Did we do that?
Yeah.
There is no wrong answer here. I'm just kind of simply assessing your process.
Yes, I wrote some bullet points.
Okay. All right, good. I definitely want us to get in the habit of doing that note taking, even if it's electronically, bullet points, highlighting areas that you think are important or significant. We do want to get in a habit of that. So, but with this first assignment, you know, I'm strictly just assessing, trying to get an idea of what was your process. All right, so we'll pick up our discussion on process on the back end of this, but let's listen to a quick read of the essay.
In the first grade, I took a spelling test with the word of on it. O-F. Of. My guess is that every student in the class that day spelled the word correctly. Every student except for Malcolm, the slowest in the class. As I looked over at his test, I saw that he had spelled the word U-V. Of. I remember thinking, geez, how dumb is this kid? But as I sat there, I realized that spelling of with a U and a V made a lot more sense than spelling with an O and an F, which were two letters corresponding to sounds which had nothing to do with the sounds in the word of. Why was this ever so simple word spelled in this completely illogical way? The best answer I could come up with at the time was, that's just the way it is. That's the way it's always been. That's what adults told me was the truth. And that's how I have to spell the word to get it right on this test and be a good student. So I better just shut up, look smart, and use an O and an F. I didn't know it then, but this little realization was my first brush with an understanding of what indoctrination was. All of us in the class that day so quietly, and without question, accepted a truth, because it was backed by authority and tradition. It was the rule, and the world would see Malcolm as dumb, not the spelling. The spelling of may not be a worthy battle to build a life around, but as I grew older, this memory helped me become aware of the fact that the world is a place that comes with a lot of strange rules and assumptions that we often fail to question. As a teenager, I dubbed these rules of-isms, spelled with a U and a V. Growing up, I recognized the presence of these of-isms and the expectations and assumptions levied on me by my surroundings. For me, this manifested itself in a defiance of suburban mediocrity and the questioning of traditions and mindsets given to me by a set of well-meaning immigrant parents that had little relevance to who I was as a person raised in this country. Of-isms led me down a path that many of us take, away from religion. Mythologies backed by the weight of generations and generations of people, when subject to questioning, seemed to me to be as relevant as the O and the F. Looking back at the 20th century, I saw of-isms be torn apart as racist and sexist traditions were abandoned. And in modern times, in the ever-losing argument that is said, gay marriage has never existed. Why do we need to have it now? I have learned that there are many rules and traditions. Many of them are there for good reasons. Many of them are not. You don't have to follow all of them. I believe in the misspelling of the word of, and the necessity for each generation to question the assumptions of the previous.
All right, so that's the end of that reading. Look, Mr. Oda's voice almost put me to sleep, but I do like the process of reading and hearing at the same time. So anytime you guys are encountered with the text, just know you have an extra option. Sometimes I will type in the title and say audio version. So if perhaps the process of reading and hearing it at the same time is what will work best for you, adopt these little small tips and strategies. The good thing about college level reading is the only wrong way, or I'll say the only right way, is the one you develop for yourself, right? You know yourself and you know what works best. So if reading and hearing it, kind of following along as you are listening to it helps you, I would definitely adopt that as a strategy. So what did you guys think? Some of you, this is your second or third time reading this. Those of you who haven't read it before, going along with it with the audio, like, did that make it easier to understand?
Yeah, it made it easier to understand, but yeah, his voice low-key put me
to sleep too.
I agree. And it seemed like throughout it, he was getting lower and lower. I'm like,
all right now, I'm about to get ready to close my eyes.
I completely understand you on that one, but because some of you guys are still writing on this topic, I don't want to go too deep into what was the main idea, etc. I kind of want to see how you guys find that out yourself, but I do want to talk about the process. And when we read, there is a process we kind of need to take ourselves through. So how many of you, when you read, really pay attention to or focus on the title?
I do.
Can you please say that again? I did not hear you.
That's okay. When we are reading, how many of you guys focus on the title?
Me.
Okay.
Too
Sometimes I'll
much.
be honest with you, especially back when I was in high school and, somewhat younger, I didn't always pay attention to titles. I would kind of just, here's what my teacher wanted me to read. So boom, bam, I start reading it. And it's, again, is this idea of let me read to either get through this, let me get it out the way, or it's a idea, let me read to complete an assignment. And those are misconceptions I would like us to ball up and throw over our shoulder. The main goal of reading is to find meaning. What is the meaning of this text? What is the author attempting to teach me? That is what it is all about. Okay, so the title, I want us to work on strategies when we encounter a text to kind of, first of all, with the question in mind, what is this text designed to teach me? Explore the title, explore who this author is. If perhaps you are looking at a particular text that may have bold lettering, italics, those are the words that are kind of, looking almost like cursive writing. Underline, bullet points. Start to, before you dive into a text, investigate or preview the title, the text formatting. All of this is important before I dive into this text, before I jump into this, let me at least know what I'm jumping into, okay? That way I'm not being buried under information that I don't know what to do. I have no idea what to do with this information. So if reading is normally daunting, if in your mind, one way or another, you may find it pointless at times, you are not seeking out, you will need to utilize a strategy of, let me slow myself down before reading and find out, what am I supposed to learn? That way, when you read, you can look for that. You can kind of look for those ideas, and it makes it, again, a more engaging and useful process. So misspelling the word of, we see that title. It's not giving me a whole lot. With Jason Oda, I did read a little bit about him, but in reading about him, I kind of learned about what's important with him. So this gave me some insight into what his perspective may be in this text. So if you guys see here, it talked about, as he grew older, he realized the importance of questioning rules and traditions and things like that. Any type of information, background on the author that can inform what this person may talk about, what is their background or expertise, that too can help you determine what you need to learn or pick up from this reading. Okay, so previewing, not a lot here on this version in terms of bolding, italics, or underline. So, but I can ask the question, what is this text designed to teach me? What is the significance of this misspelling the word of? And what do you guys think? What are you assessing is the significant? What is the point that he's making about
There's no,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jamisha.
There's no correct way to do things. And just because, like, say for instance, society says it's right, doesn't necessarily mean that's what you have to go with.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we definitely see that. So where some of you pointed out, he was talking about this kid at the beginning, right? He only brought this up to introduce the topic, right? So we could call this his introduction. He's giving you what I call a attention grabber or a hook that, before I talk to you about beliefs or assumptions, let me kind of give you let me paint a picture. Let me give you a scenario that will kind of ease you into this topic, right? So we see where he does that before kind of moving into, from that experience, what he got out of it, okay? So that's where you're seeing an introduction into a thesis. Now we're getting more into a main point. As you guys were reading this, or as Jason Oda was reading this, was there any paragraphs or any ideas that resonated? And when I use the word resonate, I mean that stuck with you, that you found meaningful or important.
Yes.
All right, share something with me. Point to something for me.
When he said, I didn't know it then, but this little realization was my first brush with an understanding of the word I don't, how you say that word?
Right. Let me. Here, I just want to show them where you're at.
Introduction,
So
I
you're
think.
here, right?
Indoctrination, I believe.
Yeah, indoctrination.
Yeah, okay. That.
Indoctrination was. Now, why was this meaningful, or why did this resonate with you?
Because I feel like he didn't understand, and that he felt like they was brainwashed basically into about their tradition, and so it basically had him questioning his generation going back. So
Right. He's saying so. So people are pretty much then telling us how to think.
Right, without question. Yeah.
Yeah.
To think a certain. I'm sorry, I'm trying.
That's okay. So who else wanted to add? As we were reading this, what's something that stuck out to you guys? Something that resonated, or that, you kind of went, maybe shook your head as you were reading it.
Well, just basically thinking outside the box.
Oh, you're saying thinking out. Oh, right. You're saying the idea that he's promoting is thinking outside the box. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll kind of point specifically to a place. Let me see. And it's actually here. Now, was that, I think that was Jamisha who had pointed to this area, where it says, all of us in the class that day, so quietly and without question, accepted a truth because it was backed by authority and tradition. How many of us in our, whether it was high school, grammar school experience, have you sat in a classroom and felt like, I don't fully agree with this, but because it's coming from an authority figure, we in some way or another silenced ourselves or just kind of submitted to that information. Have we been in situations like that?
Definitely. It was a lot. It's been classes where I didn't agree with a lot of stuff, but it's just like, well, since the teacher is telling it to us, it gotta be important if she's
and that's
telling
the
it.
way it's set up.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Which I see what you're saying, because he mentioned this in the reading. He mentioned in the reading that because, it was kind of backed by this authority and tradition, it was the rule. And it was another place where he said, so I better shut up, look smart, just kind of deal with it. It's this kind of dealing with it attitude. If you take nothing away from my course, I want you guys to take away the idea that you have license to question ideas and assumptions. It's not to say that the person is wrong, but perhaps that belief or tradition may be rooted in a incorrect idea. So where he pointed at the child spelling of wrong, well, it wasn't necessarily dumb. It made sense to him why the person picked the UV. And just my country kind of pronunciation, instead of OF, we hear of. It sounds like UV, right? So he said, wait a minute, where we thought, okay, originally, what's up with this kid? Something's wrong with them. It made more sense as to how he came to that spelling, right? So it's the questions, it's the whys, it's the hows that we really want to kind of make sure we are paying attention to, right? Not being silenced on, because I said so. Look at this. This is, I'm getting flashbacks of when I was a kid, right? Where they brought up, he even used examples from his childhood, whether it was religion. He talked about two previous assumptions or attitudes on race or gender. But we all in our background have had either our parents, teachers, authority figures, give us certain learning that is based on traditions rather than, in some cases, truth, in some cases, what is right. So even though he's given his individual experiences, we have ourselves personal experience with these. It reminds me when I was younger, a kid, and I would question things a lot. Some of you are parents and have kids who, about those questions, right? That is their way of attempting to make sense of the world around them. And when you, in some cases, say, because I said so, or because that's the way it is. I know my father used to say, do as I say, not as I do, you know, a type of mentality. You are asking people to just accept indoctrinations. You're asking them to accept traditions or assumptions. And I kind of personally made it my mission where, you know, when I become a mother myself, you know, this was, you know, in my childhood, but when I become a mother myself, whatever question my child asks, I'm going to answer that question. Now, blessing and the curse, because now I'm questioned ad nauseum.
I understand with my son right now.
I'm questioned ad nauseum. And now, and sometimes I would, you know, kind of just want you to trust me and kind of go, but even with that, there's still this questioning, but I promote questioning, right? You know, seek out your understanding. That is one way we are empowered in our learning. We can seek out an understanding for ourselves. So he talks about this, and he talks about, hold on, let me take off my annotation. All right, and he talks too about beliefs and assumptions and what they do to society. So you guys wrote on this. I won't go too deep into it, even though I did. But I do, if you haven't completed this assignment as of yet, pay attention to how you're reading it. Pay attention to the ideas you're taking away from reading it. If you can, make note of it, especially since you guys are writing on this, okay? But this brings me back, and I'm going to do a new share. I want to show you guys a particular handout that is under week 1 module. So if you haven't read this yet under week 1, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Screen?
Not the whole screen though. It's like
Yeah, not the whole
stars.
screen. It's like half of it is cut off.
Okay, so let me stop sharing. All right, let me try this again.
Can we win? Get out. Then what happens if we don't? What happens? That's the point of the plan. Simone, we will win.
All right, you guys. I have so many screens up, which is half my problem. Okay, here it is. All right, let me show you guys this. And this is under, again, module 1, week 1. So it's week 1 required reading, but the good thing, the reason I want you guys to read it ahead of time is that today's class is going to kind of really go into a discussion on it. So it says annotating text bookmark. I don't know what previous background you guys have on annotating, but I do know that students normally come into my class and they are normally exhausted and irritated with annotating. Now, is that true? Do you guys agree with this?
Kinda.
Yeah, they
School, one of the main strategies, reading strategies that they would promote was annotating. So almost every assignment required it. You know, so I do know by the time students come to my class, they are annotation fatigue. They have annotation fatigue. I want to kind of breathe new life into our ideas of annotation by kind of organizing them into what you do before reading. So this is when you are, when you encounter any reading assignment in the class, what you do during the reading process, how are you engaging in the conversation with the author, and what do you do after reading? So us going over that Jason Oda text, I attempted to model a few of these strategies. The before reading, I refer to that as previewing, and you guys may have heard that. That is, let me just take a look. Let me just poke around. Yes, how long is this text? But I also like to look at the formatting. Is this big, large paragraphs? Smaller paragraphs, kind of bite-sized pieces, is normally easier for me to read. I take a look at, is this a book? Is this an article? Is this a short story? Because that allows me to focus on what is the purpose of this information. Again, helping me to determine what learning should I be getting from this. But to review, previewing. Anytime you guys encounter a reading in the class, look at it. What is the title? How does the title inform what this text will be about? Look at any illustrations, any print to help you assess, the importance of the information you're encountering. Always important to do before. You guys saw as you were reading, although we did it through audio, I asked you guys what paragraph or what excerpt resonated with you? What did you find meaningful from the text? What stuck with you? This is kind of a during reading process. As you are reading and you're engaged, as you come across information that you feel is important, so normally we'll underline it, we'll highlight it. That is you identifying important information. This is information that resonates with me. This may be information that I need. So we go through during reading. Some of you guys told me that you look up definitions, you take bullet points of certain points. Whatever your process is of making note of the information, I not only encourage you guys, in some cases, it is required, okay? Anytime we read, I want us to replace bad habits with good ones. Get in the habit of taking note of what you're reading. Even sometimes if it's paragraph by paragraph, it just helps me to organize the information. Sometimes you guys have read text that is dense. They have thrown so much information in this text that noting, annotating helps me keep track of, organize the information I'm encountering. We'll learn more about summarizing, making connections, and writing reflections or essays in response to reading. But I do want you guys during reading to actively engage in, oh, this is, it raised my eyebrow. This is interesting. Let me underline it. Maybe you are questioning. We just talked about questioning information. Maybe you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. I'm not sure if I really agree with that. Put a note there. Kind of, sometimes I would either do either a question mark or I would highlight it, review this, look this up is normally how I would normally make note too. But however you are engaging in the text, make sure you guys are making note of that. After reading, that's normally what we do where you guys are answering questions about the reading. So for your diagnostic writing, the prompt, that was an after reading exercise where now you're examining what you've read and you're identifying what that main point is and whether or not you agree or disagree with it, right? After you read, you sometimes take a look at your annotations or your notes and you draw conclusions. Now, this is what the notes I've gathered, this is what all of it means. This is what knowledge or learning I've gained from reading this particular text. One strategy that I try to promote every time I get a chance is rereading introductions and conclusions. Now, why do you guys think it is important to reread introductions and conclusions, in the text? Why is it important to focus on those areas?
Because that's where you get the main idea from.
That is normally where the information is housed. We know, we will learn that when you write an essay, the introduction is what normally introduces and presents your main idea, right? We know the conclusion normally does what? What do we do with the conclusion?
Ending.
Gather everything.
You end it and
Summarize it. So they're normally going to all of the key points that have been discussed in that text. The conclusion will normally summarize all of the key points. And in summarizing it, they normally revisit that main point. So I always tell students as a strategy, maybe you've read it, maybe after you read it, you felt, I didn't really, I'm unsure as to what I walk away with. Reread that introduction and reread that conclusion to kind of help you figure out or determine that main idea. Really a good strategy. We'll practice more and more. Examine repetitions and things like that. So this is the model on which this class is based. Every reading assignment, whether I assign you guys to annotate or not, these are the steps that I want us to start to practice, okay? So if you haven't read the Jason Oda text as of yet and you're going back to read it, you have a a few strategies that are going to kind of help you kind of read it, especially to seek out that main point or main idea. So I'm going to kind of just pause this here. Here, go ahead. Did anybody have a question?
Tell me one thing. I don't understand this thing. When and where, I'm familiar what I know, what character, when and where, mark the in the text. What is this?
Where it says when and where, mark in the text. So when to mark, you know, and kind of where to mark. This is guidelines, right? So normally, I'm sorry. Normally, if we were in a face-to-face class, the way that I'm able to assess that you guys are engaging in the reading is I can look at your annotations. So I would normally give you a guideline sheet, a handouts on here is what you should use when you are annotating main idea. Use this, you know, and they have that question mark for unfamiliar words. Well, I'm not giving you guys a necessary set of characters to use when annotating, but I do want to encourage that you guys annotate. Whatever method you use, I know some of us are reading electronically, so you talked about bullet points, highlighting. Sometimes I take my mouse and highlight certain areas and maybe I'll bold it, maybe I'll underline it. So, you know, based on this particular format, you guys will be coming up with your own annotations that work best for you. I simply want to promote and encourage you guys to always annotate. Normally I'll come back to class and ask, what was a vocabulary word you guys learned from this reading? You can go to your annotations, you can go to your notes. I may ask a question such as, what, you know, excerpt did you find most meaningful, right? Where in the text did you question the author's information? So keeping up with your notes, having some system of annotation will help you with those discussions. Okay, but that's a good question. Don't pay too much attention to this. This is speaking more so about how to mark up the text, if that makes any sense. Okay. This
page
here.
is this page instructions.
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
This is instructions, only annotating the how I annotate.
Exactly, yeah. So this here is more so instruction. This is more what you're doing with that, right?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Okay, I understand.
Okay, so all right, another thing to discuss as we're kind of moving on from this. I think for the most part, when I asked, did anybody struggle with the reading, other than it being, you know, somewhat, I'll say the example he used early on with being in first grade, I think that threw some people at first, but his main point, I think you guys got the gist of. We'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow when I've gotten the diagnostics in. I'll kind of let you guys know my findings as far as how you guys did with that. I do want you to know that with the diagnostic, you guys will not be negatively impacted by any scoring. Because you are submitting that as an attempt for me to gather information, you simply receive participation credit for it, okay? So you won't be getting any feedback on your paper where it's an A paper or a B paper. I can't penalize you or hold you to standards that haven't been introduced yet. So I just simply want to know, when asked to write an essay, how do you know, what does that look like for you? So with that information, I'll kind of discuss my findings on that for tomorrow's class. Something before we get out of here, let me show you guys some assignments we have coming down the pipeline. Hold on, let me do this. All right, and some things that we have, a welcome video you guys will be working on, as well as our daily journal writing assignment. We may be able to get that in before we get out of class today. But let me take us back to Brightspace. Let me show you guys this. Now, are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
And you see the Brightspace page?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I got too many screens up. I get nervous. All right, let me show you guys a new assignment that has been added, and how you guys can find it and submit for it. So let's go back to module 2, because you guys know that everything under module 2 gives you some idea of what we are doing this week. So module 2, here I plan to talk about the welcome icebreaker discussion board. So normally when we are in a class, the art class is dependent on a community format. So it's important for us to kind of have this safe environment to ask questions, to learn among a community of our peers. So the welcome icebreaker is a welcome video that each student is required to submit, where you're answering a couple of questions about yourself, so that not only I, as your instructor, get to know a little bit more about you, but also your peers. So let me click onto this. Let's go into this. You guys will mute yourself. I'm not sure who is in mute. All right, and sometimes this moves a little bit slower when I'm doing it from Zoom, so bear with me a second. All right, so we do have a welcome icebreaker assignment that is posted. The due date on this, I think I gave you guys up until Friday, so we have the week to get this done, but each student in this class is required to submit a welcome video. It says here 3 to 4 minutes. Doesn't have to be that long as you are answering the questions, okay? So don't be intimidated by this. I may actually go in and change this. If it's less than 3 minutes, I'm okay with that, because I know some of our electronic devices only record a certain amount of time. So don't feel like it has to fall within this time range. What I do want you to focus on are these questions. So in your welcome video, you will record yourself, whether you use your phone, whether you use a Zoom recording. So in Zoom, there is a record option where you can kind of record yourself, whatever medium you guys use in order to do so. You will be submitting a video answering the questions such as, what is your name, hometown if you're from someplace other than Chicago, your study of focus. So maybe you are here for EMT, maybe you're here to enter a nursing program, mortuary science. So kind of make sure you are specifying what that is. Make sure you're answering the question, why are you here taking this course? And I know you guys may be like, because I have to, right? But try to be more specific, as in, I'm taking this course, as a requirement for, X, Y, and Z, or to get into a program, whatever you may need it for. But don't lose sight of what is your goal for this course, right? So maybe say, I'm taking this course so that I can become a stronger writer. I'm taking this course so that I can strengthen my reading and critical thinking skills, whatever that may be for you. Make sure you specify and throw in a interesting fact about yourself, something that somebody who just perhaps by looking at you may not know about you, may not be able to guess about you. That's always, fun to learn. What are interesting things you do during your spare time? And what are topics that interest you? So you can answer that in any way you see fit. And lastly, what do you want to do after you graduate? What are your career goals? As long as your video answers these questions, I don't care too much about the actual time of it. Now, students can complete this assignment using their cell phone, Zoom, Vimeo, or other modes of video. I know sometimes we have tablets, you guys can use that. The iPads, anything that has a recording device, video recording device that you can use. I think it should be, what is the word? Accessible for this assignment. Students can upload their videos under the discussion tool, and this is what I want to show you guys. In addition to uploading the welcome video, you guys will also have to respond to at least one student's video with either a question or comment. So maybe you may have a question. Maybe they said that their goal in this class is to do X, Y, and Z. Maybe you had a question about that. Or maybe you had a comment about whatever you learned. Posting and then responding is a two-part assignment, okay? Let me show you guys where you will find, or where you will post this assignment. So before I move on, do I have any questions on this assignment, just the actual assignment sheet?
No.
Not yet? Okay. All right, let me show you where you can find this discussion board assignment, okay? You would come into your Brightspace homepage. You would click on assessments, and you guys kind of see my mouse here?
Yeah.
Click on assessments, and you will go to discussions. And my assignment sheet that I have here, it gives you a walkthrough of these steps, okay? So once you click on discussions, you guys see here is the assignment here. Again, I reiterate the guidelines of that assignment. To submit, you would come here under the topic, and do you guys see my mouse? I know I hate to keep asking, but just to kind of make sure, I'll kind of swirl it like this. You would click here on the blue topic, welcome videos, virtual icebreaker. Again, I gave you the guidelines. To submit, you would click on start a new thread. So you come here only after you have already done the recording and you're ready to submit, okay? So once you've done the recording, you're ready to submit, you would click start a new thread. You guys see that? And whatever you want the topic of that new thread to be, I'll put welcome icebreaker. You guys can maybe put your name, how, some way to identify you. And then from here, you can either copy and paste the link or attachment to your video. You can do that here if anybody is doing Zoom, or I know I did Zoom and then uploaded it to YouTube to kind of give you guys a sample of it. Do you see where it says insert stuff? My mouse is over this little box with an arrow on it.
Yes.
This allows you to insert media. So maybe you have downloaded that video, it's on your computer, you need to access it. So this will allow you to, if you're not using a link, if you're uploading a file, click here on the box with the triangle, insert stuff, and it will allow you to find that file in order to. And I want you guys to look here where it says add video note. If you have no access, let's say, to a phone to record, if perhaps you don't have video on your Zoom to record, you can add a video note here through Brightspace. So, but it still will require that camera capability on your computer. But you can use this as well if you have no other options. So, okay, I'm not going to go all the way into this. But just know that you have that option. So let me cancel out of this. In any event, whichever way you decide to add it, you would add that attachment and post, okay? And then once you post it, it should fall to the forum here. Now, I've already included my welcome video for you guys here. So if you click on my pleased to meet you, and you click on this link, this will show you my welcome video. So I've done it for you guys first. Mine will look a little different from yours in that the questions, as far as what's my goal for the class, what do I plan to, learn or take away from the class, my answers are slightly different, as facilitator of the course. But you guys do have that sample as a model, okay? So make sure you guys are checking that out. Take us back to the course homepage. So do you guys have any questions about this assignment? What's our confidence level with this assignment?
Good.
I actually like this.
Okay, good, good. If you have any issues, is that you, Yamna? Or
Yeah,
Julie?
I'm little bit confused.
Okay. Is it anything specific, like a certain area, or are you confused on how to submit?
Oh yeah, no, like making video, that's why.
Oh, okay. And, no, that's okay. We can talk about that. So if, for that concern, Yamna, shoot me a email and we can kind of, discuss that sidebar. I can throw out some options, that can help you with that. So I completely understand that. Before they shut the city down with the health pandemic back in March, I was a complete analog girl, okay? I enjoyed the face-to-face classroom because, I was in control of how much technology I may insert. Since moving to remote learning, I have had to catch up and catch up quick. So I thank you guys for being patient with me. You see a little bit of my sloppiness and kind of moving from screen to screen. So bear with me a little bit on that. I will get better at that. One more thing before we go. Journal writing, that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Again, going back to week 2 module, and this always will inform you on what are we doing this week. So there's poetry, a poem journal series, and I just want to introduce you guys to that. So this is what this assignment sheet is designed to do. And in introducing you to it, you guys will know what to expect with our daily journal writing, right? So you guys remember one of the required materials for the class, I asked you guys to try your best to get a composition book if you can, any kind of journal, anything that works as a journal, because where we're learning more about reading and writing, the journal gives us an opportunity to practice responding to what we've read. So since I've eliminated the book club aspect or component of the course, we're going to kind of learn more about literature. We're getting to our literary aspect of the course through poetry this session. So let me click on this and quickly walk you guys through this assignment, which even though we didn't do it in class today, I can kind of set it up as a homework assignment. All right. So the poetry journal writing series, and each weekly module will include the poem journal series. This is something we should be doing every single day. So just to kind of let you guys know what that will look like. For the poetry series, I'm focusing on protest poetry, and that is a collection of poems that seek to bring voice to or call attention to certain issues of freedom, justice, equality. Protest poetry covers all aspects of protest. So any pushing back of the system, right? In some cases, it push back even in terms of its use of language, right? So we'll talk more about that. But just to give you guys a little bit of background, all of the poems that you guys will be responding to in your journal series, they are calling out, talking back to inhumane forces that threaten, again, ideals of freedom, justice, and equality. So I want you guys to look for that in the poems that we read. They will always have some element of pushback, right? Protest. So speaking truth to power remains a crucial role of the poet as they seek to draw attention to political and social issues through the use of symbolic language that expose truth, raise consciousness, and build united fronts. So the goal of protest poetry is to expose ugly truths, raise consciousness, awareness, kind of build that knowledge base, and to call others to the cause, right? Build this united front. Be mindful of that as you read. I think it will help you in terms of finding meaning in those poems. It says our daily journal writing assignments will feature a poem that students will respond to based on their connection to the text. So it's important to know that with journal writing, I'm simply grading this based on who completed the assignment. I'm not grading it so much in, did I like what the person said? Do I agree with what the person said? Did they say this wrong? There is no element of that when we're talking about your response to the text. I want to know, what do you think about it? So try not to hold back with your journal writings. And I know that's hard, that's easier said than done when you guys think you have an audience for it, but try not to give me what you think I want. Give me your real response or connection to that text. That is a hallmark of journal writing. Okay, so I don't want to water it down with a bunch of pesky expectations. The only expectation is that you read the poem, you seek out meaning for it. What does it mean to you? And then you answer, whatever that journal prompt is based on that. Okay.
Okay, I have a question for that.
Sure.
So due to like all the poems you give us, do you want that all in our journals, like each poem?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. If you can keep it, just to keep it organized, because sometimes in a semester, I'll tell a student, well, I see I have your journal 3, 4, and 5, but I don't have journal 1 and 2. So sometimes it's easier, if you keep them all in one place, it's easier just to go back. You can flip back to journal 1 and 2. Do I require you do it that way? You don't have to, because I do know some people who prefer electronic as well. So that's a good question. If you prefer to write it down, I like pen and paper. So if you are a pen and paper person, in getting your ideas out, use your journal, use your composition book, even if it's a spiral, as long as it's dedicated to journal writing, okay? If not, you guys can also use documents, and I want to show you quickly. We'll talk about the poem, okay? So I'm scrolling quickly through the poem, and as I scroll through it, I don't want you guys to be like, oh my goodness, Ms. Cole, this is long. Don't worry, we're going to talk about that in 1 second. And 2, know that Brightspace window, this kind of messes up the overall format. In this assignment sheet, I've given 3 poems, so 1 for each day, so you guys kind of get those laid out already. But I'm getting to the part on how to submit. So this is also a second part to your question on, are you required to keep it in the composition book? If you prefer, if that's your preference, yes. But you also have another option of, you can also electronically record your entry on Google Docs, any word processing program, and submit it through Google Drive. So you can submit. I have one place, and let me kind of stop my sharing so I can kind of show you guys. But I do have one folder dedicated to, it's like a Dropbox, dedicated to students dropping off, their journal entries. So I can house it. I can house it for you so that if you're doing it electronically, you don't have to keep, what can I call, written record of it. If that makes sense. So you have the option of written or electronic, but the only thing I ask, if you are going to write them electronically, even if you are writing them as well, take some type of visual picture or something so that I can just check it and see that it's completed. And all of them are being uploaded to a Google Drive. And got 2 more minutes or so. So let me show you guys how you can locate this. Stop share. I'm going to stop share for just one brief moment. How many of you guys think that you will be utilizing the electronic journal, writing it out either in Google Docs or a word processing program?
I think I'll be using that, and I'll be writing it out.
Okay.
Yeah, both.
I'll be writing mine out.
Okay, right now you have options. If you write it out, you'll take a picture of your entry, you'll send it as an attachment, you'll drop it in my Google Drive box, and that's what I want to show you guys. And you see on the assignment sheet under week 2 module, I have the link. So you guys can come here. I'll also put the link in a Brightspace announcement as I go a recap of today's class, kind of a reminder of the homework. You guys will have that link as well, but let me show you this. Okay, let me share my screen. And even though you guys will see my page, don't worry about this page. You guys would simply go to that link that I gave to you, and it will drop your files here under, you know, response journal entry summer 2020. So the file name that I gave you guys on the assignment sheet, this is where you submit your journals, okay? So you go there. Once you click on it, it will say either drop files here. So you can, you know, based on whatever wherever you have it saved, if you written it out and took a picture, wherever you saved that file, that image file, you would drop things here.
Where is this?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Where is this page?
Yeah, this is actually the page that you guys will see when you submit your journal using that Google Drive link that I included on the assignment sheet.
Oh, you include?
Yeah, I did include it on the assignment sheet. So
Okay,
you guys
that's
do
good.
have that,
Okay,
that link. And I'll post it too in a Brightspace announcement. So you'll have more than one place to find that information. But this is where you go when you're ready to submit. You can either click on new here to get a new Google Docs file, and you can just type it and submit there. Or if you already have it saved somewhere, you can come here to drop it off. Okay?
Okay. No, timeline today. Can I? No, this assignment complete today.
Yes. Now you can, depending on what you're doing. Now, do you plan, Yamna, to write it electronically, or do you plan to write it in the actual journal?
Electronic.
Okay, electronic. So you would come here. You could either click on new, and I'm just going to show you guys what happens when I click on new. It'll give you some options. So you either can upload the file wherever you have it saved to upload it here, or you can click on Google Docs, and you can kind of create a new file that you can type into it. You can title it Yamna's Journal Entry 1 and save it, and it will drop into this box here.
Okay.
Okay. So, and we'll go through a walkthrough with this on Tuesday, you guys. So if you're feeling a little bit unsure, you know, you kind of got your sea legs and looking at this, we'll have an opportunity to.
No, this assignment can I complete today?
Yeah, you guys can complete today. That's the good thing with your time. It's yours as you see fit. As long as you get it in by.
I mean, tell you deadline.
Oh, a deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me go back to the assignment sheet. Let me see.
Was it do the same day as the video?
No. Now the video you guys have until Friday. So you have all week to kind of work on. Look, I'll tell you guys, you know, since they open the city back up, you may want to do your video. You know, you may want some sun or some trees, maybe, you know, find a creative location. You know, my kids, I have a 15 and 16-year-old. Is that the age? Yeah, 15 and 16. And the creative things that they do with videos blow me away. You know, they do slow motion. They can have it looking like it's raining in the back while, you know, all kind of things. So I want you guys bring that element of creativity into your videos. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, as you guys, when you see mine, I'm just kind of sitting at my dining room table, you know, because I don't want to carry this massive laptop. If you guys could see my laptop, I won't even go there. But you know, you have freedom, and creativity, you know, is open. You guys are open with that. However you want to individualize your videos, feel free to do so. Okay. But you guys have until Friday to submit that. Now with the journals where Yamna just said, can I do it today? Yes. Yes. Let me show you guys something. You can. Let me go back to that assignment on Brightspace. Let me show you. So you guys see now that anything you want to know that we have to either read or do, go under the module that week, the module that corresponds with that week. If you missed last week, if you missed any assignments or any reading, go back to week 1 module and kind of make sure you get through that information. For week 2, you guys would always go to your Brightspace content to kind of know, you know, what's going on, to get the assignment information. That is all there. So let me pull back up the journal assignment. Let me give you guys an idea of what the question is that you'll be answering. And I'm sorry to scroll so fast. Okay. So the first poem is based on a poem, A Song for Soweto by June Jordan. Now, I've included the poem here. I think I also included a link. Did I also include the link for the poem? Okay, I didn't. I'm going to include a link for the poem as well. But in any event, here is the first poem. Let me see if I can download this. I don't really like the way it looks in this window. So I got all kind of stuff coming up. Do you guys see all this stuff coming up on my screen?
Oh, just
Yes.
I don't see nothing pop up.
Oh, you didn't see nothing pop up. Okay. All right, that's okay. I'm about to pull it up now. All right, do you guys see this Word document?
yes.
Yeah, it's just easier to read for me when I do it this way. So let me do it this way. And then you kind of see the formatting is a little bit different. How do you guys feel about reading poetry? I want to ask that.
I'm not really comfortable with reading poetry. Like, it
I'm
throws me off a
comfortable with
lot.
reading it, and I write poetry.
I heard some people say they're comfortable. Some of you guys say you're not comfortable. It may throw you off a little. I completely
I'm not
understand that.
comfortable.
I'm sorry, say it again, Yamin.
I'm not comfortable.
Not comfortable? Okay, so let's talk
Yeah.
about strategies for reading poetry really quickly. I'm gonna go through it quickly. One thing to know about reading poetry, you do need to kind of shift on how you read other things. You know, so where we've just read the Jason Oda text, or where for homework, you guys will be reading the fixed versus growth mindset. I'll show you that assignment. You'll read those texts differently than how you'll read poetry. Poetry is presenting imagery through language. So you're looking for, you have to tap into your imagination when you are reading poetry. Sometimes the meaning isn't always a literal meaning. So it means, even though a word may mean one thing, poetry utilizes what I call symbolic meaning. Even though they may use the word, and I'll just say tree. Tree may have symbolic meaning. They may refer to tree over and over again, but tree, anytime we think of the noun tree, you know, we think of things like tree of life. So we know in some cases it's a life source. When we think of tree, we think of root, something that grows, that's living, right? So we want to be open to the imagery at play in the language. So when I say imagery, look at not just what's being said, but how it's affecting your imagination, the pictures that it's painting for you. So when you read poetry, you must read poetry in tune to your 5 senses. Pay attention to how it's making you feel. Pay attention to not just what it says, but what it says in terms of what you see. So you're reading it, but now what are you able to see through reading this, right? What sounds can you hear through reading this? So poetry, for those of you who said you may be a little bit uncomfortable, maybe not so sure about how to read poetry, be open to different meanings. Be open to how the language is used. Main key thing with poetry is the language. The more often than not, they use symbolic language. They are attempting to make a point with not just what the word says, but what it means, how you feel about it, what do you see when you hear it, how do you connect to it. So I think I may add a handout on how to read poetry to our week 2 module.
So you saying look for the strange fruit?
Right, you're kind of looking for, okay, I'm seeing what it says, but what does this mean? What did I feel when I read, this particular word? You're in tune with all of those things, because those things are what is going to point you towards meaning. So let me give you just a brief information about the poem, because let me go to the question that you guys are answering anytime you get the poems in this class. You're answering meaning. What is this poem about? So after you read the poem, be able to articulate or walk away with a meaning. What did it mean to you? And I don't want you to get bogged down or distracted by, is this right or wrong? Okay? As you read it, what did you get? What story is she trying to tell here? What she said all that to say what, right? That is the meaning. Then you're looking at in your journal entry, identification of what you found most meaningful. So you don't have to analyze the poem. You don't have to, kind of take me through each line to kind of point out meaning. After you've kind of walked away with your own meaning, now in your reading, what line, what stanza, what phrase shook you? What phrase is kind of what I call that drop mic moment? You got it. You found it meaningful. It resonated with you. It affected you in some kind of way. Select one, and you guys will find there may be many. Pick one that you want to discuss, the one you found the most meaningful, and kind of let me know why. Okay? So I've set up these templates just to kind of help you guys get started with it. So you can begin with this poem is about, and then kind of lay out what you think that poem is about based on your reading. The line that I found most meaningful was, you kind of identify what that line was, because. So technically, the journal entry for the poem, it can be as short as a 3 to 5 sentence paragraph, or for some students, I've had students turn in a page of a response, especially if a poem touched them a certain way. Some poems students will read and it reminds them of a event or experience from childhood. I had some students say this poem reminds me of my grandmother, so it will affect us all differently, but I don't want to limit you in terms of your explanation of or writing about that. So in terms of length, it could be as short as 3 to 5 sentences, and it can be as long as a page. It's really up to you, kind of based on, again, your response to the poem. Okay, so first poem is Song for Soweto by June Jordan. Let me give you guys just a little bit of background on the poem so that it can be a little bit easier for you to read. This is a protest poem, and it is based on the Soweto uprising in South Africa in 1976. So it is about a poem about a protest where the protesters were children. They were school-age children, and they were protesting the introduction of a new state language, okay? They were learning that their mother tongue, the language that they had grown to use and know, it was being replaced by the occupants, the colonizing forces of the Dutch and European who went in and colonized Africa and led to apartheid and situations like that. So this particular poem, A Song for Soweto, is kind of this ode, if you will. It's in memory of the young children who were killed during this protest. So again, it's based on the South African protest. School children I believe over 150 of them were killed during this protest. The average age of protesters were 12 years old. And they walked out of their classrooms and protest the introduction of this new language. And the language was called African, even though African, you know, they are Africans. This is called African, AFRIKAAN. And that was a reemergence of the Dutch forces that had kind of took over Africa. So she's writing a poem about children who were killed in a protest that was protesting segregation, what do they call it, apartheid, but in this case, the elimination of their language, their mother tongue from the school's curriculum, okay, and replacing it with the, you know, language of the occupiers, okay? So that's background, that's context. So that's important in knowing as you read, okay? All right.
Gotcha.
So, okay, so it's 45. I'm gone a little bit over, so I'm gonna leave you guys alone because I don't own this time that I'm in right now. So I'm gonna go ahead, and if you guys don't have any questions, I can ask this. You don't have to do this today. I think I may make this, since we got to it at the end of class, this may be our first journal entry for tomorrow, okay? If you wanna work on it, you know, if you wanna read the poem to kind of work out some understanding, you can do that now, but I won't make it a required that it's due today, okay? So just kind of go into the assignment, take a look at the poems. I gave you information on this. This is the first one. We'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow, but for homework, I want you guys to only focus on the reading that we'll be discussing and talking about tomorrow, and that is that fixed versus growth mindset. So let me take you guys back to Brightspace, and let me show you again where you can find this reading. So here, under week 2 module, fixed versus growth mindset. This is what you guys will be reading in preparation for tomorrow's discussion. And as you guys read this, I want you to read according to the strategies we just talked about today. Try to take a look at the title, look at the author, kind of consider what is this information designed to teach you before you go or dive head first into the information. So try, if you can, to practice the strategies that we discussed today. And we'll pick up our discussion tomorrow at 12 on this, okay? And the good news is, even if you can't get to it tonight, the fact that we don't start until 12, even though the class is scheduled for 11, you kind of have that hour window before class begins to get the reading out of the way, okay? So get the reading done, and we'll pick back up tomorrow. All right, is that okay, guys?
That's okay.
Yes.
All right, the good news is I recorded this meeting. So if you came in a tad bit late, if you feel like you missed some information towards the beginning of class, all of this information is recorded, and I will post a recording of today's class under the course announcement.
Today we only read this point.
Yeah, you are. Now, are you talking about the journal exercise?
Yeah.
Okay, with the journal, I just kind of wanted to introduce you guys to that assignment. I was hoping we would have time for it in class today, but we ran out of time. So don't worry so much about the reading of the poem unless you just want to, but I'm not making it required just now. What is required is the reading of that fixed versus growth mindset. But know that you guys can really go through all of the readings in week 2 module at your own pace. So you can read the poems if you have time, or you you know, feel compelled to do so, you know, that's fine. But the only thing that I am requiring for tomorrow's class is that fixed versus growth mindset.
Read that.
Okay, today our homework is only reading.
Yeah, that's that fixed versus growth mindset. So I'll put all of this in a recap under announcements. Did you guys see my last recap?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, did you guys find that useful?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, so
Yes, I like it.
good. Okay, so I'll kind of do that bullet point again, just remind you guys what we covered, remind you of what the homework assignment is, and any additional handouts. I'll kind of mention that as well. So look for that correspondence from me today.
All right.
Okay.
All right, you guys, it was good seeing you all. I can't wait to meet you all through your welcome video. So don't forget to work on that.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Cole.
All right, you guys, have a good one.
You
All
too.
right.
Bye
Okay,
bye.
Bye-bye.
bye. Bye.
Enjoy your day.